It's been nearly 2 decades since Ratchet and Clank teamed up for the first time, and since their debut on the PlayStation 2, they've saved the galaxy, time, and alternate dimensions again and again. Their journeys have spanned 6 different Sony consoles, and with Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart coming out last month, we figured it's high time we chart out the story on a timeline. There are a lot of Ratchet and Clank games out there, but in this video, we're only going to cover the core games in the series developed by Insomniac Games. That means no spin-offs. And a word of warning, everyone, we will be talking about the story of Rift Apart, so unless you've won the lottery and purchased a PS5 or scalped it off someone else, you may want to look away when we get to that point. With that out of the way, I'm Caboose for the Leaderboard, and this is the Ratchet and Clank timeline.
Interesting.
Yay!
You're quite handy with your wrench.
The first game of the series came out back in 2002 and introduced us to our heroes, Ratchet and Clank. Ratchet is a Lombax stuck in Veldin, working as a mechanic with dreams to complete his own spaceship. Meanwhile, Clank is a robot created on the planet Quarto in a manufacturing plant. While living in the facility, Clank overhears a message that Alonzo Drek, the dictator of the Blarg race and chairman of Drek Industries, is planning to build a weapon that destroys planets in order to build a new homeworld for the Blarg. Horrified, Clank escapes Quarto but is shot down over Veldin. Ratchet goes to investigate the crash, and after some bickering, the two decide to team up. Ratchet will help Clank put a stop to Drek's plans, and in exchange, Clank will provide the missing part that will let Ratchet complete his spaceship, and thus, a dynamic duo was born. Leaving Veldin behind, the two go on to disrupt Drek's plans before they seek the help of Captain Quark, one of the biggest heroes in the galaxy. Unfortunately for Ratchet and Clank, Quark is working for Drek as a spokesperson. But in a boneheaded decision, Quark only reveals this information after he has trained Ratchet as a hero, because Quark took a page from the awful villain's handbook. Ratchet is able to escape the lair of the Blargan Snagglebeast. Yeah. Eventually, Ratchet and Clank fight Quark in a lengthy space battle, blasting him out of the sky. But don't worry, Quark's alive. This would be a very different series if Ratchet and Clank killed him. The duo then head out to stop Drek's plans for good. On Quarto, they learn that Drek plans to destroy Veldin with a weapon aptly named the Deplanetizer. They really thought that one through. After defeating Drek in a final battle, the villain is launched towards his newly created planet, which is then promptly blown up by his own weapon. Ouch. With the galaxy saved, Ratchet and Clank decide to return home together, because after you watch a planet blow up together, it's impossible to not become best friends with that person. I mean, come on, try it sometime. But not actually. There would be serious repercussions. Don't do that. Almost a year after they saved the galaxy, Ratchet and Clank return in Going Commando with a new quest. Ratchet is hired by Abercrombie Fizzwidget, the CEO of the Megacorp Corporation, to recover a biological experiment stolen by a thief in the Bogon Galaxy. Meanwhile, Clank is hired to work for the Megacorp itself. The two are then split up, with Ratchet pursuing the thief to the planet Aranos. The thief escapes, and soon after, Ratchet receives a message that Clank has been kidnapped by the thief. Ratchet takes a brief detour to rescue him, and the duo join up to chase the thief across the galaxy. Though they can't catch the thief, they are able to recover the experiment. Unfortunately, Fizzwidget dumps them off on a desert planet and leaves them to die. This is why you never trust corporations. This game, Ratchet and Clank, is why. No other reason. Shortly after, the thief reveals herself to be a female Lombax named Angela Cross. She used to be a former Megacorp employee, but believed that the experiment was dangerous and tried to put a stop to it. That experiment is called the Protopet, which looks like a cute and cuddly little creature, but is actually a violent monster. You may have heard the other name for this monster, and it's cats, I believe. The three of them go to confront Fizzwidget, only to discover that it is actually Captain Quark in disguise. I know, I'm as shocked as you are. Turns out that Quark is holding the real Fizzwidget hostage and plans to unleash the Protopets across the galaxy so that he can defeat them and be acclaimed as a hero once again. Unfortunately for Quark, he is eaten by a mutated Protopet while trying to fight Ratchet and Clank, forcing our heroes to rescue him once again. And thanks to a radio signal that Angela creates, the remaining Protopets are defeated and the Bogon Galaxy is saved. That's 2 galaxies saved in just under a year, which is a good track record for any galactic hero. Keep up, Star-Lord. One last thing about Angela, this is the only time she makes an appearance in the games. It was nice knowing you, Angela, but please get out. Leave. Just, Angela, Angela, just go, okay? Just go.
That was terrific.
Yeah, great. Change the channel.
But the man said to stay tuned.
In Ratchet and Clank Up Your Arsenal, Ratchet and Clank are relaxing in the Bogon Galaxy, but they soon learn that Ratchet's home planet of Veldin is under attack by the evil Dr. Nefarious. I'm not sure I needed to say that he is evil, considering his name is Dr. Nefarious, but it's better to be safe than sorry. Ratchet and Clank work with the Galactic Rangers to push back the invasion of Tyrannoids and discover that the only person who defeated Dr. Nefarious in the past is our resident wannabe superhero, Captain Quark. The two then go out in a search of the missing captain, discovering Quark on the planet Florana, living with the locals after apparently losing his memory in the last encounter with him. After forcing Quark to watch his videos of his old adventures in order to regain his sanity on the Starship Phoenix, he forms an elite squad known as the Q-Force that answers only to him. While searching for more info on Dr. Nefarious, Ratchet and Clank discover that he has built a weapon called the Biobliterator, which can turn any living creature into a robot. It's not good, to put it lightly. With the help of the Galactic Rangers, the gang infiltrates Dr. Nefarious's ship, the Leviathan, in order to apprehend him. Unfortunately, Nefarious knew that they would try this in advance and rigged the ship to self-destruct. While our heroes escape, Quark stays behind to gather intel and dies in the explosion. Of course, if you've been following along, you'd know that Quark is functionally immortal in the Ratchet and Clank universe. Insomniac never let this man die. After a short funeral, Ratchet and Clank head off to defend the city of Metropolis from Nefarious's army and the Biobliterator. Shortly thereafter, they discover that, surprise surprise, Quark faked his own death. They then manage to track down and destroy the Biobliterator, but it turns out that Nefarious built a second, more advanced version of the weapon. The duo then head to Nefarious's base on the planet Mylon, where they fight the evil doctor before he turns into a giant robot. Fortunately, Quark arrives to distract Nefarious while Ratchet and Clank blow up the robot. Nefarious teleports away and is stranded on an asteroid in deep space. Mission accomplished.
The new season of Dread Zone is underway and on pace to break ratings records once again. This year's contestants include the notorious mafia crime boss known as Ratchet.
Just as Ratchet and Clank take command of the Phoenix in Ratchet Deadlocked, they, along with a bunch of our heroes, are whisked away to the Shadow Sector, a lawless part of the Solana Galaxy. They soon meet Gleeman Vox, the creator of the Dread Zone, a blood sport where contestants kill each other for viewing pleasure. Ratchet is forced to wear a deadlock collar and participate in tournaments against his will, while Clank tries to find a way to disable the collar so they can escape and save the other heroes. Despite Vox slandering him every step of the way, Ratchet's victories in tournament after tournament make him the most popular star of the Dread Zone. Ratchet defeats the champion Ace Hardlight, and Vox offers Ratchet the opportunity to become a superstar and make loads of money, but of course, being the hero of the story, Ratchet refuses. And this pisses Vox off, to put it lightly. He tries to send Ratchet into an arena that is scientifically unbeatable, but Ratchet just beats it anyways. Thanks to Clank disabling the containment field, keeping all the heroes hostage, Ratchet returns to save everyone, but Vox, in typical bad guy fashion, reveals that he rigged the station to self-destruct, forcing Ratchet to defeat him. With the escape shuttles unlocked, Ratchet and Clank prepare to leave before Vox, again in typical bad guy fashion, decides to blow up Dread Zone anyway. Escaping by the skin of their teeth, Ratchet and Clank watch as the station explodes, taking Vox with it. And with that, we move on from the PlayStation 2 era of the Ratchet and Clank games into the PlayStation 3 era, or as it's otherwise called, the Future Saga.
Clank, I've got a bit of a situation here at the Planetary Defense Center. Nothing I can't handle, mind you, just a few thousand heavily armed robotic commandos, but I figured, hey, if you were in the neighborhood, maybe...
With a brand new shiny coat of high definition paint, the Future Saga kicks off with Ratchet and Clank Tools of Destruction. On the planet Kerwan, the city of Metropolis comes under attack by an army of Drophids, led by a villain named Emperor Percival Tachyon, the self-proclaimed crown prince of the Kragmites and sole surviving member of the species. Turns out that the Kragmites were wiped out by the Lombaxes in the Great War, which took place thousands of years before the events of Ratchet and Clank. Tachyon has been hunting Ratchet down as he believes Ratchet is the last surviving member of the Lombax species and intends to bring the Kragmites back to life using powerful Lombax technology. Confused at the info dump that Tachyon gave, Ratchet and Clank escape on Tachyon's private spaceship and are placed in hypersleep while they travel to the Polaris galaxy. While investigating Tachyon, Clank encounters a small race called the Zoni that only he can see. They tell him that he was built for a special purpose and allow Clank to see into the future via visions. Traveling across the galaxy, they eventually come across a remote space station where they meet Talwyn Apogee, an explorer looking for an ancient Lombax artifact. This turns out to be a device called the Dimensionator. Remember this name because it's really important to the series as a whole. The Dimensionator is a helmet that is capable of opening wormholes to other dimensions. It was used in the Great War to banish Kragmites to a distant star, as it turns out they're not actually all dead, just on an extended vacation really. The surviving Kragmite egg would later grow up to be Tachyon, who would start a genocidal war against the Lombax. They used the Dimensionator to escape, while one Guardian and his son stayed behind to hide the device. The Guardian sacrifices himself to save his son, who is sent to the planet Veldin. In case you haven't put two and two together, that child is Ratchet. Determined to protect his people, Ratchet goes off to hunt down the Dimensionator. They find it on the planet Jerchu, but it is abducted by the space pirate Captain Romulus Slag. Just as they reclaim it, who else but good old Captain Quark shows up to take the device. He heads to Kragmite homeworld, where he plans to destroy it. And to no one's surprise, Quark is captured by Tachyon. Tachyon summons the Kragmites, but Ratchet and Clank fight him and damage the device, sending Tachyon falling into a black hole, which, if you don't know, is an extremely painful way to die. I don't know how you would know that, but if you didn't, now you know. And if you don't think the Ratchet and Clank games can be brutal, well, think again. Just as everyone's celebrating the win, the Zoni show up and kidnap Clank, taking him to another dimension. Unable to prevent his friend's kidnapping, Ratchet vows to save Clank, setting us up for the first cliffhanger in the franchise.
But just as peace was restored to Polaris, his first mate was kidnapped by creatures known only as the Zoni.
The next game, Ratchet and Clank Quest for Booty, picks things up a year after Tools of Destruction. Ratchet and Talwyn have learned that the only person who can contact the Zoni is legendary space pirate Captain Angstrom Darkwater. Journeying to Darkwater's home planet of Murdergraw, they learn an unfortunate fact. Darkwater has been dead for years. The two are then marooned on Hulfar Island, where they soon discover that Darkwater left behind a teleport called the Obsidian Eye, which can be used to create a link to the Zoni's dimension. To use the Obsidian Eye, Ratchet and Talwyn need to find the Fulcrum Star, which powers the massive telescope. Their journey across the planet puts them at odds with both Darkwater's former crew and the resurrected Captain Romulus Slag, who was brought back to life after his untimely death in the last game. He's also possessed by the vengeful spirit of Darkwater. It's two pirates in one body, which is far too many pirates if you ask me. Fortunately, Ratchet is able to beat them both in a pitched battle, granting him access to the Obsidian Eye. Upon activation, Ratchet learns that Clank has been damaged due to constant exposure to Zoni energy, which also caused him to lose his memories. Thankfully, the Zoni found a doctor to fix him, Ratchet and Clank's old nemesis, Dr. Nefarious. And just like the last game, we're ending on a cliffhanger as Ratchet and Talwyn set out to rescue Clank from the hands of the good doctor and the Zoni.
I thought we could start with the whole I did my own stunts angle and sort of roll into my method for accomplishing this brooding stare.
Yes, we'll get into that in a second. But first, could you comment on the disappearance of Clank?
Oh, right. Little guy. What do you want to know about him for?
In Ratchet and Clank: A Crack in Time, Clank is still trapped by the Zoni and Dr. Nefarious. He's been stuck in a Zoni construct called the Great Clock for more than a year, and during that time, Nefarious has been trying to gain access to Clank's brain. When the Zoni refuse him again, Nefarious betrays them with a device called the Hypersonic Brainwave Scrambler. This not only shuts down the Zoni and the Great Clock, it also allows Clank the chance to escape. Clank then discovers the true purpose of the Great Clock from Orvis, a super-intelligent Zoni. The Great Clock maintains time throughout the universe, shutting any temporal anomalies. However, it can also be used to manipulate time. Orvis also reveals to Clank that he created him, making Orvis Clank's father. However, it turns out that the real Orvis has been missing for 2 years after encountering Dr. Nefarious. Elsewhere, Ratchet and Captain Quark crash land on the planet Quantos while searching for Clank. Say that 10 times fast. They are attacked by Nefarious's assassin, Lord Vercellin, who mistakes Ratchet for another Lombax named Alistair Azimuth. Ratchet escapes and meets up with Azimuth, who was a good friend of Ratchet's father. Azimuth tells Ratchet about the Great Clock, and they come up with a plan to not only save Ratchet's parents, but the entire Lombax race. Soon after, Ratchet and Azimuth get in contact with Clank using another obsidian eye. Clank requests the two travel back in time to save Orvis from the hands of Nefarious. That's right, it's time for time travel, which never makes a timeline complicated, ever. Not once has there been time travel in any form of media that's been convoluted in any way. No, it's always easy to follow. Ratchet travels back in time to save Orvis, but fails. Returning to the present, Ratchet intercepts a fake distress signal from Clank and rescues him, though he warns Ratchet about the dangers of abusing time travel. This causes Ratchet to reconsider his plans to save his family, and Azimuth leaves upset at his changed mind. The two then meet with Quark and infiltrate Dr. Nefarious's base. It turns out that Nefarious plans to use the Great Clock to create a reality where supervillains such as himself always win against heroes, so that he never has to experience defeat. That doesn't happen, however, as Ratchet and Clank overcome the Doctor again and put a stop to his plans. Afterwards, Clank reveals that he intends to follow his father's wishes and manage the clock. Azimuth is still determined to use it to bring back the Lombax race, but Ratchet refuses once again. As a result, Azimuth kills Ratchet. Yeah, bet you didn't see that coming, huh? But in case you forgot, there's a giant time machine just around the corner. Clank uses it to reverse time 6 minutes into the past, which saves Ratchet's life. As Azimuth begins to rewrite reality, Ratchet reasons with him to stop this madness and prevent the end of existence. Azimuth feels ashamed for his actions and sacrifices himself in order to stop the clock from breaking, which saves the universe. Ratchet and Clank help the Zoni repair the clock, and Ratchet says goodbye to his longtime friend. However, Clank changes his mind, deciding to continue following Ratchet on adventures as he has become so important to life. And if that isn't brotherly love, well, I just don't know what is.
I'm dying.
No, you're not.
Oh, fine. You know, you laughed the first time I did that.
I found it to be quite humorous.
In the last game in the Future Saga, Into the Nexus opens with Ratchet and Clank escorting the criminal Vendra Prague to a prison where she can serve a life sentence. However, Vendra stages a breakout with the help of her twin brother Neftin, resulting in the ship's explosion. Barely escaping with their lives, Ratchet and Clank inform Talwyn of what's going on and head to the planet Yarrick to follow the siblings. The bad news is that the planet was abandoned years ago and is haunted by ghosts. The worst news is revealed when the duo meet Pollux, a scientist who worked for Dr. Nefarious, who was abducted by the Progs to study the Netherverse, an alternate world inhabited by demonic creatures. Ratchet and Clank follow the twins and meet Mr. I, the leader of the Nethers. Mr. I tries to destroy them, but a timely appearance by Captain Quark saves them. The two travel around the galaxy to put a stop to Mr. I's plans, which involve creating a device similar to the Dimensionator that can connect the Netherverse to Ratchet and Clank's universe. Along the way, Mr. I betrays Vendra and traps her in the Netherverse, causing Neftin to team up with our heroes to save his sister and stop Mr. I's plan. The only condition is that the siblings must turn themselves in when all is said and done. Ratchet and Clank steal the Dimensionator from the Intergalactic Museum of History and bring it to Neftin to repair it just as Mr. I attacks the reality. While Clank rescues Vendra, Ratchet holds off Mr. I long enough for the Progs to banish the giant eyeball back into the Netherverse. The twins turn themselves in, Ratchet reunites with Talwyn, and Clank takes the Dimensionator for himself. This sets the stage for the sequel, which wouldn't come out until 2021. Or it would, but we gotta talk about one of the other games first, the 2016 Ratchet and Clank game for PlayStation 4. Some people call it a reboot, others call it a remake, but the best way to describe it is a reimagining of the first game. The plot is mostly similar, though there are a few changes. Namely, the big bad is not Chairman Drek, though he is in the game. Instead, it's Dr. Nefarious, because why not use the villain that comes up the most in the series? Also, Captain Quark is less antagonistic in this game, as he only begins working for Drek after Ratchet and Clank start gaining popularity as heroes. He also goes to jail at the end, but apart from that, it's pretty much consistent with the first game. So why are we mentioning it now? Well, Insomniac has said that the newest Ratchet and Clank game is a follow-up to both this reimagining as well as Into the Nexus. The plot follows up from the latter, but in a spiritual sense, it follows the 2016 game. So yeah, we're putting it here. This is also going to be our last warning for spoilers, we're going to go deep into Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart's story, so leave now if you haven't played it yet or you care about the story. You still here? Why are you still here? You want to just be spoiled? Alright, he just wants it. He just wants the spoilers. He wants to be spoiled. Fine, alright, well, we're gonna get into it. Let's not waste any more time and get right into the story of Rift Apart.
I had a speech prepared, but considering that our event seems to be under assault, I will cut to the chase.
Ratchet and Clank are being celebrated as galactic heroes with a parade in their honor, which means it's the perfect time for Clank to reveal that he repaired the Dimensionator so that Ratchet can search for the Lombax race and his missing family. This is also the perfect time for who else but Dr. Nefarious to attack the parade and steal the Dimensionator for himself. In the chaos, Ratchet accidentally shoots the device, causing rifts to open up and sending the trio into an alternate universe before the Dimensionator breaks and separates them. Nice job breaking it, hero! Dr. Nefarious finds himself in a throne room where he is mistaken for Emperor Nefarious, a version of himself who has never been defeated throughout his conquests. He takes up the Emperor's identity in order to track down Ratchet and Clank. Meanwhile, Clank finds himself in the hands of Rivet, a female Lombax who is a member of the Resistance against the Emperor. After discovering a coming dimensional cataclysm, Clank gets in touch with Ratchet and formulates a plan to rebuild the Dimensionator and return to their home dimension. Ratchet teams up with a robot named Kit to track down a forge where they can build a new device, while Rivet and Clank search for a power source. When the two groups meet up, Kit partners up with Rivet, and Ratchet and Clank reunite. Together, they complete the Dimensionator and stop Dr. Nefarious from stealing it, only to have Emperor Nefarious arrive and take it for himself. Using the device, the Emperor defeats Captain Quantum, an alternate version of Captain Quark, and he celebrates completing the conquest of the universe. That is, until he realizes that he can use the Dimensionator to conquer every possible dimension. The gang tries to prevent the Emperor from discovering a dimensional map, but he too steals that and captures Ratchet and Clank. All seems lost. Keep in mind though that this is a Ratchet and Clank game. Rivet frees the locked up members of the Resistance as well as Ratchet and Clank. They chase after Emperor Nefarious, who has begun to invade Ratchet and Clank's home dimension. Everyone teams up to take on the Emperor, including Dr. Nefarious himself, and together they are able to defeat and banish him into a rift. Clank quickly repairs the Dimensionator and stops the dimensional cataclysm. The game ends as Ratchet, Clank, Rivet, and Kit all decide to hang out and repair the damage the Emperor has caused. All in all, a happy ending. And there you have it, the complete Ratchet and Clank timeline, that is at least until Insomniac decides to make another game in the series. Share what your favorite Ratchet and Clank moment is in the comments below, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the Leaderboard for more timeline breakdowns. I've been Caboose, and we'll see you next time.